Anna Reed's wrench slipped for the third time that morning, her knuckles scraping against the maintenance panel's rough edge. She wiped the small drops of blood on her work coveralls and tried again. The gravity generator on level 7 had been acting up for weeks, creating pockets of weightlessness that made simple repairs into floating nightmares. Nobody else wanted this job. The other engineers said it was too dangerous, too unpredictable. Anna didn't mind. She had always been good, with her hands good at fixing things that others gave up on. Her small apartment on Erebus 7 was filled with broken devices she had rescued from the scrap heap and brought back to life. The mining station wasn't much to look at from the outside. It hung in space like a metal spider, its long arms reaching out toward the asteroid belt that provided raw materials for 3 different star systems. Humans worked alongside Valdari warriors, Nexari traders, and dozens of other species, all trying to make a living in the cold emptiness between worlds. Anna had been here for 5 years now, ever since her parents died in a transport accident. She was 18 then, with nowhere else to go and no money for passage to the inner colonies. The mining company offered her a job and a place to sleep, and that was enough. She learned to fix things because broken equipment meant people died out here, and Anna had seen enough death already. The wrench finally caught the bolt properly, and Anna felt the satisfying click as the gravity generator's housing came loose. She pulled herself inside the narrow maintenance shaft, her flashlight beam dancing across cables and circuit boards. Everything looked normal, but she knew better than to trust appearances. Problems in space were like infections. They hid until they killed you. Her communicator crackled to life. Anna, you there? It was Pete, the shift supervisor. His voice sounded tight, worried. I'm here, Pete. What's wrong? We've got company. Long-range sensors picked up 3 ships moving in fast. They're not broadcasting any identification codes. Anna paused, her hands still deep in the generator's guts. Pirates weren't uncommon out here, but they usually hit the transport ships, not the station itself. How long until they arrive? Maybe an hour. The captain wants all non-essential personnel in the emergency bunkers. That includes you. Anna looked at the half-disassembled generator around her. If she left now, the gravity on level 7 would fail completely within 6 hours. The residential quarters were on level 7. Families lived there, kids who couldn't handle sudden weightlessness without getting sick or hurt. I need another 30 minutes to finish this repair. Anna, this isn't a request. Get to the bunkers. Now? She turned off the communicator and went back to work. Her hands moved quickly but carefully, reconnecting power cables and adjusting the magnetic field generators. She had done this repair 100 times before, but never with the knowledge that armed ships were racing toward them through the darkness. The station's alarm system began its low, urgent wail. Red lights flashed in the maintenance shaft, turning, everything the color of blood. Anna ignored them and kept working. The gravity generator hummed to life, its status lights shifting from red to yellow to green. She smiled and started putting the housing back together. That's when the shooting started. Anna felt the station shake as weapons fire struck the outer hull. The lights flickered, and her tools rattled against the metal walls around her. She grabbed her emergency kit and crawled out of the maintenance shaft, her heart beating fast but her hands still steady. The corridor outside was empty except for one person, a man in military uniform who was running toward the command center. He was older, maybe 50, with gray hair and the kind of scars that came from real fighting. Anna recognized him from the cafeteria, Captain Torres, one of the defense coordinators who helped protect the trade routes. He stopped when he saw her. What are you doing here? Everyone else is in the bunkers. Fixing the gravity generator. It's working now. Another impact shook the station, stronger this time. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in harsh white light. Captain Torres looked at Anna more closely, noticing the tool belt around her waist and the calm expression on her face. You're not scared. Anna thought about that. She should be scared. People were shooting at them with weapons that could crack the station open like an egg, but all she felt was a strange kind of focus, like when she was deep inside a complicated repair and everything else faded away. I guess not. Is there anything I can do to help? Torres studied her for a moment, then made a decision. Follow me. We need all the technical help we can get. They ran through empty corridors while the battle raged outside. Anna could hear the deep rumble of the station's defensive weapons firing back at the attackers. The command center was chaos when they arrived. People shouting orders, screens flashing with tactical data, and the constant chatter of radio communications. "We've lost the port shield generator," someone yelled. "They're coming around for another attack run." Torres pushed Anna toward a maintenance console. "Can you reroute power from the mining equipment to boost our shields?" Anna looked at the display, her mind automatically tracing the power grid in her head. She had worked on every system in this station at one point or another. Her fingers moved across the controls without hesitation, shutting down non-essential systems and redirecting their power to the defensive grid. "Done. You should have about 20% more shield strength now." The tactical officer looked, up in surprise. "Confirmed. Port shields are back to full power." Torres nodded approvingly, but there was something else in his expression now. Curiosity, maybe even suspicion. "How long did it take you to learn the station's power systems?" "I don't know. A few years, I guess. You just pick it up after a while." Another alarm sounded, and someone reported that the attackers were retreating. Anna watched the tactical display as 3 red dots pulled away from the station and disappeared into the asteroid field. The immediate danger was over, but she could feel Captain Torres still watching her. After the all-clear signal, Torres walked Anna back toward the residential levels. The corridors were filling up again as people emerged from the emergency bunkers, talking excitedly about the attack and their narrow escape. "Anna Reed," Torres said, reading from a small data pad. "Age 23, employed as a maintenance engineer for 5 years. Orphaned, no family, no military service." He looked up at her. "But according to your employment records, you scored in the 99th percentile on spatial reasoning tests and had reaction times that the computer flagged as impossible." Anna shrugged. "Maybe the computer was broken. I'm good at fixing those too." Torres smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I don't think the computer was broken. I think someone made a mistake by not noticing you sooner." He handed her a data chip. "This contains information about the Terran Defense Corps. We're always looking for people with special talents, people who can do things that others can't. I'm just an engineer." "No," Torres said quietly. "I don't think you are. Think about my offer, Anna Reed. The galaxy is getting more dangerous, and humanity needs every advantage we can find." He walked away, leaving Anna alone in the corridor, with the data chip in her hand. Around her, life on Erebus 7 was returning to normal, but she knew that something had changed. The way Torres looked at her, the questions he asked, it felt like he had seen something in her that she didn't even know was there. Anna went back to her small apartment and sat on her narrow bed, turning the data chip over in her fingers. Outside, her window, the asteroid field glittered with reflected starlight, beautiful and deadly. For the first time in 5 years, she wondered if there might be something else waiting for her out there in the dark. The transport ship shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace, and Anna pressed her face against the small porthole to get her first look at the Orbital Combat Academy. The structure was huge, easily 10 times larger than Erebus 7, with training, decks and simulation chambers jutting out from its central hub like the branches of some metallic tree. Anna's stomach felt tight with nerves. 2 weeks had passed since she activated the data chip Torres gave her, and everything had moved quickly after that. Medical exams, background checks, travel arrangements, and now here she was, about to start a new life she wasn't sure she wanted. Other passengers on the transport were nothing like her. They looked like soldiers already, with straight backs and confident expressions. Anna caught fragments of their conversations, talk of weapons training at military academies, family traditions of service, personal combat records that stretched back years. She felt small and out of place in her civilian clothes. "First time?" asked the woman sitting next to her. She was tall and athletic, with short blonde hair and the kind of muscle definition that came from serious training. "Is it that obvious?" The woman smiled. "You have the look. I'm Lisa, by the way. Lisa Grant, former Colonial Marine, joined the TDC last year." Anna Reed, former maintenance engineer. Lisa raised an eyebrow, but didn't comment. Anna was grateful for that. She had gotten tired of explaining her background to the recruiting officers, seeing the skeptical looks when she told them about fixing generators and repairing air recyclers. The Academy's docking bay was enormous, with ships of every size and configuration lined up in perfect rows. Anna followed the other new arrivals, through a series of corridors that smelled like metal polish and recycled air. Everything was clean and organized in a way that made her miss the comfortable chaos of Erebus 7. They were herded into an orientation hall where a stern-looking man, in sergeant stripes, waited for them. Sergeant Brooks was older than Torres, with gray hair and scars that looked like they had stories behind them. His eyes swept across the group of new recruits with obvious disapproval. "Listen up, people. You are now trainees in the Terran Defense Corps, which means you belong to me until I decide you're worth something or I throw you out. Most of you will wash out in the first month. The lucky ones will figure out they don't belong here and leave on their own." His gaze lingered on Anna for a moment longer than the others. "Some of you are here because you think you're special. You scored high on some test or you did something impressive somewhere else. Forget all that. Here you start from nothing." The next few hours were a blur of medical checks, equipment assignment, and room assignments. Anna found herself sharing quarters with 3 other women, including Lisa. The room was small but functional, with 4 bunks and a shared washroom. Anna's few possessions looked pathetic compared to the others' military-issue gear and personal weapons. "Don't worry about it," Lisa said, noticing Anna's expression. "Half the stuff we brought won't be useful here anyway. They'll issue you everything you need." Anna's first day of actual training began at 0500 hours with physical conditioning. The Academy's gym was filled with equipment designed to push human bodies to their limits, and beyond it lay training areas for other species. Anna caught glimpses of Valdari warriors practicing with bladed weapons, their forearms moving in complex patterns that looked like deadly dances. Anna struggled through the first hour of calisthenics, her muscles burning from exercises she had never attempted before. Around her, the other recruits pushed through their routines with varying degrees of success, but most of them looked like they belonged there. Anna felt like she was drowning. "Reed!" Sergeant Brooks appeared beside her as she attempted her 15th pull-up. "What kind of physical conditioning did you do in your previous job?" I lifted heavy equipment, crawled through maintenance shafts, that sort of thing." "That sort of thing?" Brooks repeated mockingly. "Well, that sort of thing won't cut it here. You need to be twice as strong and 3 times as fast if you want to survive combat. Drop and give me 50 push-ups." Anna dropped to the floor and started pushing. Her arms shook with effort, but she managed to complete the exercise. Brooks watched her with a frown, then moved on to harass someone else. The weapons training that afternoon was even worse. Anna had never held a military-grade rifle before, and it showed. Her shots went wide of the target. The weapon felt awkward in her hands, and the recoil threw off her aim even when she managed to line up a decent shot. Other recruits were scoring bullseyes while Anna struggled to hit the target at all. "Maybe you should go back to fixing things," muttered one of the other trainees, a man named Roberts who had been making snide comments all day. "At least then you wouldn't be dangerous to the rest of us." Anna felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she kept shooting. Each missed shot felt like proof that she didn't belong here, that Torres had made a mistake in recruiting her. But something strange happened during the 3rd week, when they moved from firearms to traditional weapons. The instructor handed Anna a training knife, just a simple piece of shaped metal with a grip, and everything changed. The weight felt right in her hand. The balance was perfect. When the instructor demonstrated basic attack and defense positions, Anna found herself copying the movements with an ease that surprised everyone, including herself. Her body seemed to know what to do before her mind caught up. "Better," Sergeant Brooks admitted grudgingly, as Anna worked through a series of defensive exercises. "Much better. Where did you learn knife work?" "I didn't. I mean, I used cutting tools for work, but nothing like this." Brooks studied her carefully. "Show me that last sequence again." Anna repeated the movements, flowing from one position to the next with growing confidence. Around her, other recruits paused in their own training to watch. Even Robert stopped making jokes. It was during this improved performance that Anna first encountered the Valdari students. The Academy trained humans alongside their alien allies, and the Valdari were widely considered the best close combat fighters in known space. They were tall, lean humanoids with 4 arms and natural reflexes that made human martial artists look clumsy by comparison. The most prominent Valdari student was named Kalen. He was young for his species, maybe equivalent to a human in their 20s. But he had already earned recognition as a blade master on his home world. His 4 arms could wield multiple weapons simultaneously, creating attack patterns that no 2-armed opponent could match. Anna first saw him during a demonstration for the mixed species combat class. Kalen moved through a series of forms with 2 practice swords, his movements flowing like water while his weapons traced complex patterns in the air. It was beautiful to watch, like a deadly form of art. "Impressive, isn't it?" said Lisa, who was standing next to Anna in the group of observers. "The Valdari have been perfecting blade combat for thousands of years. No human has ever beaten one of them in single combat." After the demonstration, Kalen approached the human students with what appeared to be friendly interest. His English was perfect, though accented with the musical tones of his native language. "Your species shows promise in close combat," he said to the group, "though of course you are limited by your primitive 2-armed physiology." The comment stung, especially since Anna had been feeling good about her progress with traditional weapons. Kalen's 4 eyes, 2 primary ones in front, 2 smaller ones on the sides of his head, scanned the group with casual superiority. "Perhaps one of you would like to spar with me? Nothing serious, just a learning exercise." Several of the more experienced trainees volunteered, including Roberts. Anna watched as Kalen effortlessly defeated each challenger, his 4 arms working in perfect coordination to overwhelm their defenses. He never seemed to work hard or even break a sweat. "Anyone else?" Kalen asked, his tone suggesting he already knew the answer. Anna found herself stepping forward before she realized what she was doing. "I'll try." Kalen looked at her with obvious surprise, then something that might have been amusement. "You are the maintenance engineer, yes? The one who struggles with firearms?" "That's me." "Very well. It will be educational for both of us." They faced off in the center of the training mat, each holding a single practice blade. Anna felt suddenly aware of how quiet the room had become, of all the eyes watching her. She tried to remember everything she had learned in the past few weeks, but her mind felt strangely calm. Kalen attacked first, his blade moving in a simple testing strike that Anna parried easily. He tried again, faster this time, and Anna deflected, the attack with a movement that felt more like instinct than training. For 30 seconds they exchanged strikes and blocks, and Anna realized with growing amazement that she was keeping up. Then Kalen brought his other 3 arms into play. The Valdari warrior's attack became a storm of coordinated strikes from multiple angles. Anna's single blade couldn't possibly block everything, and she found herself giving ground quickly. Within moments, Kalen had scored 3 touches that would have been killing blows in a real fight. "Enough," he said, stepping back. "You show some natural ability, but you see now the limitations of your species. 2 arms against 4. It is not a fair contest." Anna nodded, breathing hard from the exertion. She should have felt defeated, but instead she felt energized. For a few seconds there, she had matched one of the galaxy's premier warriors stroke for stroke. That had to count for something. Kalen, however, seemed to interpret her expression differently. "Do not feel bad about losing, human. Your people have other strengths. Perhaps you should focus on those instead of trying to match us in combat." The patronizing tone made Anna's jaw tighten, but she didn't respond. Around them, the other students were already moving on to their next exercises, the brief spar forgotten. Only Sergeant Brooks remained, watching Anna with the same curious expression Torres had worn. That night, Anna lay in her bunk staring at the ceiling while her roommates slept. Lisa's quiet breathing mixed with the hum of the air recyclers to create a soothing background noise, but Anna's mind was racing too fast for sleep. She kept replaying the spar with Kalen, analyzing each exchange. She had done better than she should have, certainly better than any novice had a right to expect. But Kalen's dismissive attitude bothered her more than the defeat itself. There had been something in his tone, something that went beyond normal competitive confidence into genuine disdain. Anna had encountered that attitude before, growing up on the outer colonies where humans were often seen as second-class citizens compared to the older, more established alien civilizations. The assumption that humans were weaker, slower, less capable. It was something she had learned to ignore over the years. But here at the Academy, surrounded by the best and brightest of multiple species, that old familiar sting felt sharper than ever. Anna closed her eyes and tried to push the thoughts away, but sleep was a long time coming. 3 months at the Academy had changed Anna in ways she was still discovering. Her body was stronger now, lean muscle replacing the soft curves of civilian life. Her hands, once permanently stained with grease and coolant, were now calloused from weapons training and combat exercises. But the biggest change was in how she moved, more fluid, more aware, like she was finally learning to use her body the way it was meant to be used. The announcement came during morning formation. Admiral Chen, the Academy's commandant, stood before the assembled students with the kind of news that made everyone straighten their posture automatically. Representatives from 7 allied species will be visiting next week to observe our training programs, she said, her voice carrying clearly across the formation hall. This is an opportunity to demonstrate the progress you've made and the cooperation between our species. Each group will present their specialties in a formal demonstration. Anna felt her stomach twist with nervousness. Public demonstrations meant scrutiny, and scrutiny meant the possibility of failure in front of important people. Around her, other students whispered excitedly about the chance to show off their skills. The Valdari students will demonstrate traditional blade combat, Admiral Chen continued. Lieutenant Kalen has volunteered to lead the presentation. Anna glanced toward where the Valdari students stood in their own formation. Kalen was easy to spot, taller than most humans, and carried himself with the confident bearing of someone who had never doubted his abilities. Over the past 3 months, his attitude toward the human students had only grown more condescending. It started small. Comments about human clumsiness during mixed training sessions. Suggestions that humans should focus on technology-based combat, since they lacked natural fighting ability. Always phrased politely, always technically respectful, but with an undertone that made Anna's teeth clench. The worst part was that he wasn't entirely wrong. Most human students did struggle with the close combat exercises that came naturally to the Valdari. Anna was the exception, and that seemed to bother Kalen more than anything else. After formation, Anna was walking to her next class when Kalen approached her. His forearms moved in the graceful gestures that passed for casual body language among his species, but there was something calculated about his casual approach. "Anna Reed," he said, pronouncing her name with careful precision. "I have a proposal for you." Anna stopped walking and turned to face him. Up close, Kalen was even more intimidating than from a distance. His primary eyes were a deep green color that seemed to shift and flow like liquid, while his secondary eyes remained fixed on potential threats around them. It was an alien trait that made conversations with Valdari feel strangely intense. "What kind of proposal?" "The demonstration next week. I would like you to be my partner for the blade combat presentation." Anna blinked in surprise. "Me? Why?" Kalen's expression was difficult to read, but something that might have been a smile touched the corners of his mouth. "You have shown the most promise among the human students in traditional weapons training. It would be appropriate to showcase the cooperation between our species." It sounded reasonable, even honorable, but Anna had learned to read people during her years on Erebus 7, and there was something in Kalen's tone that set off warning bells in her mind. What exactly would this demonstration involve? Nothing too complex. I will demonstrate various Valdari blade techniques while you attempt to defend yourself using human methods. It will be educational for the observers to see the differences in our approaches. The way he said attempt made Anna's jaw tighten, but she kept her expression neutral. "I'll think about it." "Of course, take your time." Kalen walked away with that same fluid grace, leaving Anna standing in the corridor with a growing sense that she had just been maneuvered into something unpleasant. That evening, Anna discussed the proposal with her roommates. Lisa was immediately suspicious. "It sounds like he wants to use you to make humans look bad," she said, sitting cross-legged on her bunk while cleaning her service weapon. "Public humiliation disguised as cultural exchange." "Maybe," Anna said. "But what if I actually do well? What if I can keep up with him? Anna, you've been training for 3 months. He's been doing this his whole life and he has twice as many arms as you do. It's not a fair fight." "Fair fights don't exist in real combat," Anna replied, echoing something Sergeant Brooks had said during a recent lecture. "Besides, if I refuse, everyone will think it's because I'm afraid." Lisa gave her a long look. "Are you afraid?" Anna considered the question honestly. She should be afraid. Kaylin was faster, stronger, and more experienced than her. But when she thought about facing him in front of the academy and the visiting dignitaries, what she felt wasn't fear. It was anticipation. "No," she said finally. "I'm not afraid." The next morning, Anna found Kaylin in the weapons training bay and told him she would accept his proposal. His reaction was exactly what she had expected: polite satisfaction with an undertone of predatory anticipation. "Excellent. We should practice together before the demonstration to ensure it goes smoothly." They arranged to meet that afternoon for a private training session. Anna spent her lunch break in the Academy's library, reading everything she could find about Valkyrie combat techniques and philosophy. Most of it focused on their four-armed advantage and the complex weapon patterns that advantage made possible. But she found a few interesting notes about their cultural approach to combat. Valkyrie warriors valued elegance and artistic expression in their fighting style. Victory was important, but how you achieved victory mattered just as much. A crude or inelegant win was considered shameful, even if effective. Anna filed that information away and headed to the training bay. Kaylin was already there when she arrived, warming up with a series of flowing exercises that looked more like dance than combat preparation. He had selected 2 ceremonial blades for the practice session, weapons that were lighter and more decorative than the standard training gear. "These belong to my father," he explained, as he handed Anna a single practice blade. "He was a blade master on Valderis Prime before he entered diplomatic service. They have been in my family for 6 generations. Anna accepted the weapon and tested its balance. It felt different from the training blades she was used to. Lighter, more responsive, almost alive in her hands. "They're beautiful." "Beauty and function in perfect harmony," Kaylin said. "The highest ideal of Valkyrie craftsmanship." They began with simple exercises, working through basic attack and defense patterns, while Kaylin explained the cultural significance of each movement. Anna found herself falling into the rhythm of the practice, her body responding to the blade work with increasing fluency. "You are improving," Kaylin admitted as they paused for water. "Your form is still crude by Valkyrie standards, but there is potential there. Thanks, I think. Of course, potential means little without proper guidance. Your species learns quickly, but you lack the cultural foundation that makes true mastery possible." Anna felt that familiar flash of irritation at his casual dismissal of human capabilities, but she pushed it down. "What do you mean?" Kaylin gestured with all 4 arms, the movement flowing and graceful. "Blade combat is not merely about technique. It is about understanding the philosophical principles that govern conflict itself. The Valkyrie have been studying these principles for millennia. Humans have been using blades for what, a few thousand years at most? We've been fighting for our survival since we learned to walk upright." "Survival, yes. But survival is not the same as art. Any animal can survive. Only an intelligent species can transform violence into something beautiful." The condescension in his voice was getting harder to ignore, but Anna kept her mouth shut and continued practicing. As the session progressed, she noticed that Kaylin was gradually increasing the pace and complexity of the exercises. What had started as a cooperative practice was beginning to feel more like a test. By the end of the EIDE session, Anna was breathing hard and sweating through her training clothes. Kaylin, meanwhile, looked like he had barely exerted himself, His forearms moved in perfect coordination, each blade following its own path while somehow contributing to a unified whole. "That will be sufficient for today," he said, accepting the practice blade from Anna with formal courtesy. "The demonstration is in 3 days. I suggest you rest and prepare yourself mentally. What exactly will happen during the demonstration? I will showcase several traditional Valdari techniques while you provide defensive opposition. Nothing too complex. I don't want to overwhelm you in front of the dignitaries." There was that tone again, the one that made Anna feel like she was being patted on the head like a child. She wanted to say something sharp in response, but instead she just nodded and left the training bay. The next 2 days passed quickly. Anna threw herself into preparation, practicing her blade work during every free moment and studying recordings of Valdari combat demonstrations. She also spent time in the Academy's gym, working on her strength and endurance. If Kalen was planning to make her look foolish, she wanted to make him work for it. The morning of the demonstration arrived with the kind of crisp artificial atmosphere that marked important events at the Academy. Anna woke early and went through her usual routine, but everything felt sharper and more focused than normal. Her breakfast tasted more vivid. The hot water in the shower felt more intense, and even the recycled air seemed cleaner somehow. The demonstration was scheduled for 1400 hours in the Academy's main training amphitheater. Anna arrived early and found the venue already bustling with activity. Technicians were setting up recording equipment while Academy staff arranged seating for the dignitaries. The circular training floor looked enormous under the bright overhead lights. Other students were arriving for their own demonstrations: Nexari energy manipulation, human tactical coordination, Koran strength competitions. Anna watched them prepare with the kind of calm confidence that came from knowing exactly what they were good at. Anna changed into her dress uniform and checked her equipment one final time. She had chosen a standard training blade rather than one of the fancy ceremonial weapons Kalen preferred. It was heavier and less elegant, but she knew its balance perfectly. The dignitaries began filing into their seats at 13:45 hours. Anna recognized some of them from news broadcasts: military leaders, diplomats, and trade representatives from across the allied species. They settled into their reserved section with the kind of polite attention that suggested they had seen many similar demonstrations before. Admiral Chen took the central podium and began introducing the various presentations. Anna only half listened to the opening remarks, her attention focused inward on the strange calm that had settled over her mind. It was the same feeling she had experienced during the pirate attack on Erebus 7, a sense that time was slowing down and everything was coming into perfect focus. "The Valdari students will now demonstrate traditional blade combat techniques," Admiral Chen announced. "Lieutenant Kalen will be assisted by human trainee Anna Reed." Anna walked onto the training floor to polite applause. Kalen was already there, resplendent in his formal Valdari combat attire with 2 ceremonial blades crossed behind his back. He bowed formally to the audience, then turned to Anna with what looked like respectful acknowledgement. "Ready?" he asked quietly. Anna nodded and drew her training blade. Around them, the amphitheater fell silent except for the soft hum of recording equipment. "The Valdari approach to blade combat emphasizes flow and artistic expression," Kalen began, his voice carrying clearly to the assembled dignitaries. "Each movement serves both practical and aesthetic purposes." He drew his own weapons with a flourish, the ceremonial blades catching the overhead lights. Then, he began to move. Anna had seen Kalen fight before, but never like this. His forearms worked in perfect harmony, the blades tracing complex patterns in the air while his body flowed from one position to another with liquid grace. It was indeed beautiful, like watching a master artist create a sculpture from light and motion. Anna kept pace with him at first, her single blade meeting his attacks with defensive movements that looked competent if not inspired. The audience murmured appreciatively at the display, and Anna allowed herself to feel cautiously optimistic. Then Kalen began to increase the pace. "Of course, true mastery requires the ability to adapt to changing circumstances," he said, his breathing still perfectly controlled even as his attacks became faster and more complex. "The warrior must be able to flow like water, changing direction and intensity as the situation demands. Anna found herself working harder to keep up. Kalen's forearms allowed him to attack from multiple angles simultaneously, forcing her to make desperate defensive moves that left her off balance and reactive. She could hear the change in the audience's attention, the way the polite murmurs shifted into something more focused and intense. Human combat techniques rely heavily on technology and group tactics, Kalen continued, his tone taking on a lecturing quality while his blades never stopped moving. Individual skill development is often neglected in favor of equipment advantages. The insult was subtle but unmistakable. Anna felt heat rise in her cheeks as she realized what was happening. This wasn't a demonstration. It was a humiliation disguised as education. Kalen's attacks became even more aggressive, pushing her backward across the training floor. His 4 blades created a storm of steel that forced Anna into increasingly desperate defensive positions. The two-armed physiology of humans creates certain limitations that cannot be overcome through training alone, he said, executing a complex maneuver that forced Anna to duck and roll to avoid being overwhelmed. These limitations become particularly apparent in close combat situations. Anna came up from her roll breathing hard, sweat stinging her eyes. Around the amphitheater, she could see the dignitaries leaning forward in their seats, clearly entertained by the display. Some were even taking notes. Physical strength is also a significant factor, Kalen continued, his tone now openly condescending. While humans have made admirable progress in developing their techniques, they simply cannot match the natural advantages of species that evolved for combat. That last comment sent a spike of anger through Anna's chest. She parried a particularly vicious combination attack and found her voice. Maybe we just haven't been trying hard enough. Kalen smiled, his 4 eyes glittering with satisfaction. Determination is admirable, but it cannot overcome the fundamental laws of physics and biology. He launched into his most complex attack sequence yet, all 4 arms working together to create an impenetrable wall of moving steel. Anna gave ground steadily, her blade work becoming more frantic as she struggled to keep up. Perhaps you should consider focusing on your strengths instead of attempting to match us in areas where you are clearly outmatched, Kalen said, his tone now openly mocking. Your grip strength, for instance, is quite weak by galactic standards. I could probably break your weapon with my bare hands. The comment was meant as casual dismissal, but something about it struck Anna strangely. She looked at Kalen's confident expression, at his 4 arms moving with practiced precision, at the ceremonial blade in his primary hand that he wielded with such casual superiority. And suddenly, Anna realized she wasn't afraid anymore. She wasn't even angry. What she felt was something much colder and more focused, a crystalline clarity that made everything around her seem to slow down. You talk too much, she said quietly. Time moved differently when Anna stopped retreating. The amphitheater around her seemed to fade into background noise, the murmur of dignitaries and the hum of recording equipment becoming distant and unimportant. What mattered was Kalen's confident expression, the way his 4 arms moved with practiced arrogance, and the ceremonial blade he wielded like it was an extension of his superiority. You talk too much, Anna said, her voice carrying a calm that surprised even her. Kalen's primary eyes narrowed slightly, but his attack pattern didn't change. If anything, he seemed more amused than concerned by her comment. Brave words for someone who is clearly outmatched. Perhaps you would prefer to yield now and save yourself further embarrassment? Instead of answering, Anna did something that went against every defensive instinct she had developed over 3 months of training. She stopped backing away and took a step forward. The movement caught Kalen off guard. His next attack, designed to force her further backward, suddenly found empty air where she should have been. Anna was inside his reach now, closer than any opponent had managed to get during the entire demonstration. What are you doing? Kalen hissed, his 4 arms adjusting rapidly to compensate for the unexpected change in distance. Anna didn't answer. She was watching his movements with the same focused attention she had once reserved for broken machinery. Every gesture, every shift in balance, Every micro-expression on his alien features was feeding into some calculation her conscious mind wasn't even aware of making. Kalen launched a new attack sequence, all 4 blades converging on Anna's position from different angles. It was a killing combination that should have ended the demonstration instantly. Anna saw it coming with perfect clarity. Her perception, sharp enough to track each individual weapon as it cut through the air toward her. She didn't try to block them all. She didn't try to dodge. Instead, she reached out with her left hand and did something so simple and impossible that the entire amphitheater fell into stunned silence. She caught Kalen's primary blade between her index and middle finger. The ceremonial weapon, forged from quantum-aligned steel and passed down through 6 generations of Valdari warriors, stopped dead in the air 6 inches from Anna's throat. Kalen's confident expression transformed into confusion as he tried to pull his weapon free and found it held as firmly as if it were clamped in a mechanical vise. "What?" Kalen started to say, then stopped. His other 3 arms were still in motion, the remaining blades completing their attack patterns, but Anna seemed completely unconcerned by the weapons moving around her. Her attention was focused entirely on the blade between her fingers. The amphitheater was so quiet that Anna could hear her own heartbeat. She could feel the eyes of hundreds of observers on her, the weight of their attention pressing down like a physical force. But none of it seemed to matter compared to the simple fact that she was holding a blade that should have cut through her fingers like soft butter. "Impossible," Kalen whispered, his 4 eyes wide with disbelief. "The grip strength required. No human could." "You were saying something about weak grip strength?" Anna asked mildly. Kalen pulled harder on his weapon, his muscles straining, with effort that should have been more than enough to free the blade from any human's grasp. The weapon didn't budge. If anything, Anna's grip seemed to tighten slightly, her fingers adjusting their position with casual precision. "Release my blade," Kalen demanded, his voice tight with something that might have been fear. Anna looked at him with the same calm expression she had worn while repairing the gravity generator on Erebus 7. "You know, I've been listening to you talk about human limitations for 3 months. About how we're weaker and slower and less capable than everyone else in the galaxy." She squeezed slightly, and there was a soft sound like crystal beginning to crack. "But I think you made a mistake. I think you assumed that just because most humans don't know what they're capable of, that means we're not capable of anything." The soft cracking sound got louder. Kalen's eyes went wide as he realized what was about to happen. "Stop," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "That blade is a family heirloom. It's irreplaceable." "So is my species' dignity," Anna replied. She squeezed again, just a little harder, and the quantum-aligned steel that had survived centuries of combat and been passed down through generations of warriors snapped in half with a sound like breaking glass. The broken tip of the blade fell to the training floor with a metallic ring that echoed through the absolute silence of the amphitheater. It rolled a few inches before coming to rest at the feet of the shocked dignitaries in the front row. Anna released the remaining half of the blade and stepped back, her expression as calm as if she had just completed a routine maintenance task. Kalen stared at the broken weapon in his hand, then at Anna, then back at the weapon again. "How?" he whispered. Anna picked up her training blade from where she had dropped it and assumed the ready position. "Maybe the question isn't how I did it. Maybe the question is why you assumed I couldn't." Around them, the amphitheater was erupting into chaos. Dignitaries were shouting questions in a dozen different languages. Academy staff were pushing forward to examine the broken blade. Recording equipment was capturing every angle of the impossible scene. But in the eye of the storm, Anna stood, perfectly still, waiting to see what Kalen would do next. The Valdari warrior looked at his 3 remaining blades, then at Anna's relaxed stance, then at the broken tip of his family heirloom lying on the floor. Something fundamental seemed to shift in his expression, the arrogant confidence replaced by something Anna had never seen there before, genuine uncertainty. "This is not possible," he said, more to himself than to Anna. "Human bone density, muscle fiber composition, neural conductivity. None of it supports this level of physical Capability. Maybe your data is wrong. The data cannot be wrong. We have studied your species extensively. We know your limitations. Anna shrugged. Then I guess you don't know us as well as you thought. Admiral Chen was pushing through the crowd now, her face a mask of professional control that didn't quite hide her shock. What happened here? I want a full explanation. Kaylin held up the broken blade with shaking hands. She caught my blade with her bare fingers. Then He seemed unable to finish the sentence. Broke it, Anna supplied helpfully. I broke his knife with 2 fingers. The Admiral looked at the broken weapon, then at Anna's unmarked fingers, then at the crowd of excited observers who were all talking at once. Medical team to the training floor immediately. I want both participants examined for performance enhancements, genetic modifications, or any other anomalies. That won't be necessary, said a familiar voice from the edge of the crowd. Captain Torres pushed through the press of people, his expression carefully neutral. I can explain what happened here. Anna felt a chill of recognition. Torres had been watching from somewhere in the audience, probably taking notes for his report. She realized that this demonstration had never been about Kaylin's ego or Valdari superiority. It had been a test, carefully orchestrated to push her to do exactly what she had just done. Captain Torres, Admiral Chen said with obvious relief, please enlighten us. Torres stepped onto the training floor and picked up the broken tip of Kaylin's blade, examining it with professional interest. This is quantum-aligned steel, molecular, bonding strength rated at approximately 12,000 pounds per square inch. Breaking it would require grip pressure of at least 15,000 pounds, concentrated on a surface area of roughly 2 square millimeters. He looked up at the assembled crowd. The average human grip strength is about 120 pounds. Even the strongest recorded human grip strength tops out at around 300 pounds. Then how did she do it? Demanded one of the alien dignitaries. Torres smiled, and Anna realized she had seen that expression before, on Erebus 7, when he had first noticed her unusual capabilities. Because Anna Reed isn't average, none of them are. Them? The humans we've been recruiting, the ones who score impossibly high on reaction time tests and spatial reasoning assessments, the ones who can do things that our own data says should be impossible. Anna felt the pieces clicking together in her mind. You knew this would happen. You set this whole thing up. Not exactly, Torres admitted. I hoped it might happen. We've been looking for humans with dormant capabilities, people who might have inherited traits from our species' more challenging evolutionary period. Admiral Chen stepped forward, her professional composure cracking slightly. Are you telling me that there are humans walking around with superhuman abilities that they don't even know about? Not superhuman, Torres corrected. Just human, really truly human in ways that most of us have forgotten. He gestured toward Anna. Humans evolved on what the galactic community classifies as a Class 2 death world. Everything on Earth was trying to kill us for millions of years. The gravity, the atmosphere, the predators, the diseases, even the plants. He paused to let that sink in. Most species evolve in relatively benign environments and develop intelligence as their primary survival trait. Humans developed intelligence as a secondary trait. Our primary trait was pure, stubborn survivability. Anna looked down at her hands, still trying to process what had just happened. So I'm some kind of genetic throwback? You're what humans were before we became civilized, Torres said. Before we started living in safe environments where we never needed to push our bodies to their actual limits. Most humans today use maybe 10% of their potential strength, speed, and reflexes because they never encounter situations that demand more. But I did, Anna realized. On Erebus 7 during the pirate attack, and here, when Kaylin pushed me hard enough. Exactly. Stress triggers activate dormant genetic pathways, but only in individuals who have the right combination of inherited traits. We estimate maybe 1 human in 50,000 has the potential. Kaylin had been listening to this explanation with growing amazement. How many of these individuals do you have? Anna is the first we've confirmed, Torres admitted. But we have candidates in training programs across human space. If even a fraction of them develop similar capabilities. He didn't need to finish the sentence. Anna could see the implications writing themselves across the faces of every alien dignitary in the amphitheater. Humanity's position in the galactic community was based on their technological capabilities and their value as traders and diplomats. But if humans turned out to have physical capabilities that rivaled or exceeded the galaxy's premier warrior species, this changes everything, whispered one of the observers. Anna looked around at the crowd of shocked faces, at the broken blade on the floor, at her own unmarked fingers that had just done something impossible. 3 months ago, she had been a maintenance engineer on a mining station, invisible and unremarkable. Now she was apparently the first confirmed example of humanity's hidden potential. "Permission to return to barracks, sir?" she asked Admiral Chen, falling back on military protocol because everything else felt too complicated. The Admiral blinked, then almost smiled. "Permission granted, trainee Reed, but we'll be talking again soon." Anna picked up her training blade and walked toward the exit, leaving behind a crowd of dignitaries, researchers, and military officers who were all suddenly very interested in humanity's evolutionary history. Behind her, she could hear Kalen's voice, quiet and stunned. 6 generations, he was saying to anyone who would listen. That blade survived 6 generations of my family. Anna paused at the amphitheater exit and looked back at the Valdari, warrior. "Maybe it's time for a new generation," she said, then walked away into a future that suddenly held possibilities she had never imagined. The medical examination took 6 hours and confirmed what everyone already suspected. Anna Reed was completely impossibly human. No cybernetic enhancements, no genetic modifications, no alien technology hidden somewhere in her body. Just baseline human biology operating at levels that the medical staff kept insisting were impossible. Anna sat on the examination table in the Academy's medical bay, watching Dr. Sarah Park frown at her test results for the 10th time. The doctor was a small, precise woman who had spent her career studying human physiology, and Anna's very existence seemed to be giving her a headache. "Your bone density is 12% above human average," Dr. Park muttered, reading from her data pad. "Muscle fiber composition shows enhanced fast twitch development. Neural conductivity is, well, it's off the charts. But none of this explains how you generated 15,000 pounds of grip pressure. Maybe your instruments are wrong," Anna suggested. "I've run the test 3 times with different equipment. The readings are consistent." Dr. Park looked up at Anna with the expression of someone whose understanding of the universe had just been turned upside down. "According to everything we know about human biology, what you did today should have shattered every bone in your hand." Anna flexed her fingers experimentally. They felt normal, a little sore from the day's exertion, but no different than they had after a long shift repairing equipment on Erebus 7. "Maybe everything we know is wrong," she said. Before Dr. Park could respond, the medical bay door opened and Captain Torres entered, followed by Admiral Chen and 2 people Anna didn't recognize. One was a tall, elderly man in civilian clothes who looked like he hadn't slept in days. The other was a woman in military uniform with the insignia of the Terran Defense Corps Research Division. "How is our miracle worker?" Torres asked. "Confused," Anna replied, "and tired of being poked and prodded like a lab specimen." The elderly civilian stepped forward and extended his hand. "Dr. Marcus Webb, Xenobiology Research Institute. I've been studying human evolutionary development for 30 years, and I've been waiting my entire career for someone like you." Anna shook his hand cautiously. "Someone like me? Someone who proves that humanity's true potential has been dormant, not lost." Dr. Webb's eyes had the intense gleam of a researcher who had just discovered something extraordinary. "Tell me, Ms. Reed, what do you know about Earth's classification as a death world?" "What Captain Torres told me yesterday. Dangerous environment, everything trying to kill us, we evolved to be tough. That's the simplified version. The reality is much more fascinating." Dr. Webb pulled out a portable display and activated it, showing a 3-dimensional model of Earth. "Your homeworld has a gravity 20% stronger than galactic standard, atmospheric pressure that would be considered toxic to most species, weather patterns that regularly produce storms capable of leveling entire cities. The display shifted to show various Earth creatures, predators with razor-sharp claws, venomous insects, plants that could kill with a touch. Every single life form on your planet evolved in an arms race for survival that lasted millions of years. Humans didn't just survive this environment. They became the apex predator of the most dangerous world in known space. Anna studied the images with growing fascination. So what changed? Why are most humans today so normal? Civilization, Dr. Webb said simply. When humans developed agriculture, medicine, and technology, they no longer needed peak physical performance to survive. The genetic traits that made them dominant on Earth became dormant. Evolution favors efficiency. Why maintain expensive biological systems if they're not needed? The woman in military uniform stepped forward. I'm Colonel Martinez, TDC Research Division. What Dr. Webb is describing isn't just academic curiosity. We have reason to believe that stress-activated humans might be the key to humanity's survival in the coming galactic conflicts. Anna felt a chill run down her spine. What conflicts? Admiral Chen answered that question. Intelligence reports suggest that several species are reconsidering humanity's place in the Galactic Alliance. We've been valuable as traders and diplomats, but we're seen as militarily weak. Some of our allies are starting to view us as a liability. The Quran Empire in particular has been making aggressive moves toward human colonies, Colonel Martinez added. They're testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses. We estimate we have maybe 2 years before they make a direct challenge to human territory. Anna looked around at the assembled group of researchers and military officers, all of whom were watching her with expressions of hope and expectation. And you think people like me can make a difference? We think people like you might be humanity's secret weapon, Torres said. If we can identify and train enough stress-activated humans, we might be able to field military units that can match or exceed the capabilities of any alien warrior caste. Dr. Webb nodded enthusiastically. The preliminary data is remarkable. Enhanced strength, speed, reflexes, spatial awareness, pattern recognition, all within the normal range of human genetics, just operating at maximum efficiency instead of the reduced levels we've become accustomed to. How many others are there? Anna asked. We don't know yet, Colonel Martinez admitted. We've identified maybe 200 candidates across human space, people with the right genetic markers and psychological profiles. Most of them don't even know they're special yet. Anna thought about that for a moment. 200 people with abilities like hers, scattered across dozens of worlds, living ordinary lives and never realizing what they were capable of. It seemed both incredibly small and impossibly large at the same time. What happens now? Now we find out how much you can do, Torres said, and we start training you to do it consistently. What happened today was impressive, but it was also instinctive. We need to turn instinct into skill. Dr. Park cleared her throat. Before we start planning training regimens, I'd like to understand the medical implications. Ms. Reed, have you experienced any other unusual physical capabilities? Enhanced healing, improved sensory perception, increased endurance? Anna considered the question carefully. Maybe. I've never gotten sick, not even a cold. I've never broken a bone, even when I should have. And I can work longer shifts than most people without getting tired. Fascinating. Classic Death World adaptations. Dr. Webb made notes on his datapad. What about cognitive abilities? Memory, pattern recognition, problem-solving under stress? I'm good at fixing things, complex mechanical problems that other people give up on, and I can usually tell when equipment is about to fail before the diagnostic systems detect it. Enhanced pattern recognition and predictive analysis. Exactly what we'd expect from a predator species. Anna winced at the description. I don't think of myself as a predator. Of course not. Modern human society has spent thousands of years teaching you to suppress those instincts. But they're still there, waiting for the right stimulus to activate them. Colonel Martinez stepped forward. We'd like to offer you a position in our research program. Full military rank, access to the best training facilities in human space, and the chance to help develop capabilities that could save our species. What kind of training? Physical conditioning to help you access your enhanced abilities consistently. Combat training with weapons and tactics designed specifically for stress-activated humans. And psychological preparation for what we expect will be extremely dangerous missions. Anna looked around the medical bay, taking in the faces of the people who were asking her to become something she didn't fully understand. A few days ago, her biggest concern had been whether she would pass her weapons training certification. Now she was apparently being recruited for some kind of secret superhuman soldier program. Can I think about it? Of course, Admiral Chen said, but don't take too long. Events are moving quickly, and humanity needs every advantage we can find. As the group began to file out of the medical bay, Anna called after Captain Torres. Torres, wait. He stopped and turned back to her. What is it? When you recruited me on Erebus 7, did you know this would happen? Did you know what I was? Torres was quiet for a long moment. I knew you were different. The way you handled the crisis, the test scores, the calm under pressure, all indicators that you might be carrying dormant traits. But honestly, I hoped, rather than knew. And now? Now I know that humanity has a fighting chance. The galaxy sees us as weak because we've forgotten what we really are. But you just reminded everyone, including ourselves, that humans are the survivors of the most dangerous world in known space. He paused at the door. The question is, are you ready to help us remember the rest? After everyone left, Anna sat alone in the medical bay, staring at her hands. She flexed her fingers, still amazed that something so ordinary-looking could generate enough force to snap a blade that should have been unbreakable. Through the medical bay window, she could see other trainees going about their regular routines. Weapons practice, physical conditioning, tactical exercises. They all looked so normal, so unaware that their entire species might be on the verge of discovering capabilities that had been hidden for millennia. Anna thought about Kalen, probably somewhere in the station trying to explain to his superiors how a human maintenance engineer had broken a 6th-generation family heirloom with her bare hands. She wondered what the other alien species would do when they realized that humanity might not be the weak junior partner they had assumed. Most of all, she wondered about the 200 other candidates scattered across human space. Were they having the same kinds of realizations she was? Were they discovering that the limits they had accepted their entire lives were just illusions, barriers that could be broken with the right kind of pressure? Anna made her decision and activated the medical bay's communication system. This is Trainee Reed requesting to speak with Colonel Martinez. The response came quickly. Martinez here. What can I do for you, Reed? I want to join your program. When do we start? There was a pause. Then Martinez's voice came back with what sounded like relief. We start tomorrow. Welcome to the future of humanity, Reed. Anna closed the communication link and looked out the window again. Tomorrow she would begin training to become something that most humans didn't even know was possible. She would learn to be what her species had been before they forgot, what they might need to be again if they wanted to survive in a galaxy that was suddenly taking a much closer look at them. In the distance, she could see ships arriving and departing from the Academy's docking bays, carrying people and cargo between the stars. Some of those ships were probably carrying other candidates like her, people who were about to discover that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their diplomacy. It was the fact that they were the children of a world that had spent millions of years trying to kill them, and they were much harder to kill than anyone realized. Anna smiled and began planning her new future.